Hey, you're about to watch a sick interview coming up with a guest that I've brought on, and I'm just going to kind of let them do their thing. I'm going to let them do their thing. So I hope you can enjoy this. Just grab a notebook. Make sure you grab a notebook and a pen so that you can take notes. I'm not the one sharing stuff here. This is them. So let them do their business with you and coach you into something relating to marketing and teach you something new. You can learn from people from all different industries. So also hit the subscribe button and then hit a bell. The bell should pop up after you hit subscribe. That would just help me bring the subscriber number up. You know, I love that. And then it'll also notify you whenever new videos go live or new interviews like this go live. So make sure you do that. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, we're recording. Hey, Daniel, thanks for hopping on.
Hey, Solomon.
So can you tell us a bit about yourself? I know you. You've kind of been a mentor to me, a big one. And you've been always there to teach me something or to listen to like what I've been going through and help me and give really good constructive advice. So what just give us your story maybe, you know, a lot about you and your business expertise. Probably that would be best, probably.
All right. Well, my background is in actually nonprofit work. I spent my teen years volunteering, working for a small company, helping them get started, helping them build CRMs and software, working with vendors and getting their whole system set up when I was a teenager. And one thing led to another. I was doing their email marketing. I was doing their website. I was kind of like the go-to, the one guy they had to run it all. And I did that for years and years. Ended up managing that company. I had to learn every different kind of discipline there is. And from there, I started my own little side business and then eventually went full-time with that business. And now I run a small marketing company called Carlisle Marketing, and we focus on conversion rate optimization. So I learned over the years that the best place that I could apply my skills and everything I learned was taking someone's existing site, turning it into a sales funnel, and then optimizing the heck out of it until it's a really high performance site, and then coming on top and putting in advertising on top to help them scale. So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
That's awesome. And you still do all of that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, full time, all the time, way more than I need.
So what's your favorite part about what you're doing right now? What's your thing you're into?
I would
if
say,
anything.
I would say my favorite part about it is the freedom it affords. You know, there's so much value in helping someone sell their product or service. It's not just what you make helping them. It's the value you're providing to the people they serve. And it's just hugely rewarding, not only to change the life of an entrepreneur or small business owner, but, you know, the people they affect. Seeing the testimonies and reviews is probably my favorite part, which is the most powerful thing you can optimize on your funnel, by the way. I've learned. And then the freedom it affords me to be able to travel. Right now we're in Virginia. We're going to North Carolina next month, and then we're headed out to probably Montana and to Colorado for some visits, some of the state parks and stuff. And I can just, you know, work when I need to work and focus on what's important to me. It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you work alone, right? Would you say you work alone? Would you ever say that?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, right.
No, teamwork makes the dream work always. It's essential that you find someone who can complement you in any business that you're trying to run. You know, they call them visionaries and integrators is one way of looking at it. So a two-person team is not just twice as good. It's 10 or 100 times as good as working alone. So I'm a very private person. I like to work alone, but I found that you have to partner with people who are good at what you're terrible at. Because if you try to do things you're terrible at, it's very hard to scale and be successful. You have to only focus on what you're good at, only focus on what you love. It's like an intersection, passion, what you can make money at, right? What you're good at. If you can find that intersection, wherever you are in the world, whatever you're working on, go for it. Focus on that. And once you can make a living doing it, that's happiness. Really, for me, happiness is, taking care of my family, being with my wife and kids, but then being able to work on what I love every day. And for me in marketing, it's conversion rate optimization. I love it. I literally dream about it. I wake up and write down ideas of things. I have lists of ideas of things I want to do. It's a muse, it's fun. It's creative. It's being creative.
Can you go into why conversion rate optimization is your favorite thing?
Sure. My favorite thing is to turn a funnel on, watch what happens. Watch the sales come in.
Right.
I like to connect my funnels to dynamically show the output of the sales and stuff, and see them just trickle in. Ding, 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 ding. I just think it's awesome. It really, really gets me going. So, I like being able to go in and make it better. You divide any sales funnel up into the opt-in, the landing page, the order form, and the upsells, and then the ads on top. And every time you improve that system from top to bottom, it's not just a 2x increase. If you double the conversion rate on your ads, it's at least 6 times. It's huge. It's a tiny lever with a huge output. And I love it. So why not do it? So it's a really great discipline. There's many disciplines in marketing. Many. I was reading a blog one time about growth hacking, and they said something like 18 different marketing disciplines. Email marketing, social media marketing, all kinds of there's many different disciplines, but this is the one I like most. You have to know a bunch of stuff, but you only have to do one thing really well.
And so how long have you been in the marketing world? How many years has it been, would you say?
So I left my kind of corporate work in 2017.
Okay.
So it's been roughly 4 years now. It's going on 5. It'll be 5 years in February.
Okay. So you said you only have to do one thing super well, but it's taken you a long time to find that one thing, or have you even found it?
It has. It's taken years. I mean, I started in affiliate marketing 5 years ago, trying to sell products with ads, and I didn't understand you got to start somewhere, right? You just got to go for it. Do your best in everything you touch. And then eventually, just, if nothing else, trial and error, you figure out what you love. What is the thing that you think about when you're not working? Like, what is the thing your wife wants to slap you because you're distracted when you're supposed to be spending time with her that you're thinking about? What's that muse, that thing that you would do for free, that you love. So that's how I figured out that I love the CRO portion. Some people hate it. But
no, that's not everyone's thing. That's for sure. I would say it's my thing, but in a different way probably than you. And it's probably not that in particular. I love that testing kind of side of things, the A/B testing, and seeing how it works in the grand scheme of any one business,
I'm a huge data nerd, so
you are, aren't you?
I like to analyze and cross-analyze and do the reporting. Some people absolutely despise and detest that. I think it's wonderful. I live in Google spreadsheets every day, so
I've seen your spreadsheets too. Yeah,
but it also means that I need a counterpart, someone that I can work with who has the other side of the brain.
Right.
who's always looking at product development, always looking at new funnels, always looking to work with new clients, always thinking about business growth. Because I'm focused on this aspect of the business that goes on forever. It never ends. CRO never ends, and that's part of why some people don't like it. Um, but yeah, lately I've been learning to focus on just the small amount of things that matter the most. For example, I could probably count on one hand, the number of things that doubled or tripled the conversion rate on a funnel I was working on. And those things took me a minimal amount of time. Like I remember I was working with a client who had an order form that was multiple steps, and it was very convoluted. And I just took that and simplified it into a simple one-step sales form, and then they collected the rest on the back end. It took me less than an hour to create. It probably took me 30 to 45 minutes to implement all the way, and it doubled their business overnight. It's just little things that you can do. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do the high value items. So I'm a kind of person, perfectionist, who likes everything to be just right.
Right.
And the value in that. It's not something you want to shame people about that are perfectionists, because there's value in it. You just have to, that can be your weakness as well. So you really have to focus on what's really going to be effective. And one thing I've learned is to visualize it done. Like, I'm looking at my task list, look at the things that I could be doing. There's always more that you could be doing. It's always going to be a never ending list. You just have to focus on what is the one thing, if done, will make the rest of these things not important. What one thing, if completed, will make the rest of these unnecessary?
Right.
That's a question I ask all the time.
So before I let you just kind of unleash on whatever you want to talk about, you said that there's a certain number of things that you do that you want to measure and change before you release it again to see how it does again, right? So what's your order of things, or the top things you would look for when it comes to CRO? And are you saying, and would it be the same of course it'd be a little different when it comes to like ads versus funnels, but what you could use any one of those examples, like funnels or ads. So what would your list be?
The first thing is always the offer. It's always the offer. You change your offer, you change your life. So if you can craft the offer to be specific for the customer you want to serve, not the average customer. That's the biggest mistake people make, is they say, okay, let's look at our average customer. Our average customer is Sally, who works at such and such place, and she's a brunette and she's age 25 to 32. No, you need to go and find out who is the top 20%, or if you have enough customers, the top 4% of your customer base. And you need to find out who they are, because what we were talking before this video about the 80-20 principle. There's a great book by Perry Marshall called 80-20 Sales and Marketing. I recommend it to anyone who does marketing. Huge concept. It is a known fact, research studied and proven fact, that 20% of your customers produce 80% of your revenue. And so if you can customize that offer or create a new offer to serve just those people who produce 80% of your revenue, don't worry about serving the other 80% of customers. It's a waste of your time. A lot of those customers actually cost you money. So if you can figure out how to customize the offer, either the price point or the content in the offer, whatever the service and product you're delivering is, to that 20%, you can double your business, triple your business, sometimes more. And I've seen that over and over again. So that's always going to be number one. And that if you get that right, everything else flows downhill. So if you get the offer right, then it's just about positioning it right. And a lot of that comes from feedback, right, from your customers. They'll tell you. People love to be asked. So ask them.
And so other than offer, what would you do if you were like, okay, this is a great offer?
Hmm. So if it's a great offer, if the landing page, if you will, has the offer copy, and it, you know that it resonates because you've done the research, you know it resonates with your target customer, then it's about the next one after that for me has always been making sure that page has all the elements on it. There's lots of lists out there. Um, you know, biggest one for me has been social proof. I found that adding correct, specific social proof to your page can more than double your conversion rate. And it's a low, it doesn't take a ton of time, but it produces a huge amount of effect. So there's all kinds of things you need to have on there. You got to have your, you have to have your benefits, you have to have your problem solution. You need to do it in story format for the most part. If you're selling just e-commerce items, it's not as a big deal, but I'm selling more courses lately and more larger ticket items. And so you have to tell the story of the why behind the product, and, deliverables and all sorts of different elements. There's ample resources out there that you can look up. But for me, it starts with offer. I mean, the thing about it is, it's that question again. What is the one thing I can do that, if done right, will make the rest of these things unnecessary? It's the offer. If you get that right, the rest is almost easy. It's downhill from there.
Yeah. And so you would know an offer works if what? If
the heartbeat of it is testing. You're gonna target that
Sure.
customer group, and you're gonna get their feedback.
Sure.
Yep, and the biggest piece of feedback is they buy it,
Right.
but right. But you can also just ask them,
Well,
and then
awesome.
that's how you know.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's optimization is just making that better and better and better, taking feedback, improving it, feedback, improvement. It's just a loop until it's to a place you're satisfied with. And then it's about scaling from there.
That's cool. That's awesome. So I just want to let you talk about whatever you want to talk about. Teach us something. Because I know you've got a lot to talk about and teach. You've got a lot of experience.
I stand on the shoulders of others, that's for sure.
I mean, 4 years of time, almost 5 or whatever you said. That's not a lot of time, but you've learned a lot. You know a lot.
Read great books is the best advice that I can offer anyone. Whatever your field, read great books, because you can learn by practice, and I have certainly, but the greatest things I've learned have come from people who've already been there. So I mentioned one book to you, the 80/20 Sales and Marketing is a great book. There's others out there. Consume as much material as you can. I mean, I'm an avid reader. It is probably the biggest, most important factor in my success, beyond just God's favor, is just reading, consuming as much content as I possibly can. And this concept of 80/20 I've been really diving into lately, because I've really found that 80/20 was a principle developed by a guy named Pareto, who's an economist, I think in the 50s, and he was studying, can't remember what he was studying. It was something in market trends. And he discovered that the 80/20 is a principle that applies to pretty much everything in the natural world, like population of rabbits versus foxes, because of their weight ratio is 80/20, like rainfall in certain areas, like 20% of the roads have 80% of the traffic. The way that continents are lined out follows an 80/20 principle. There's so many things in the natural world. And he said, hey, this is the principle, guys. And it wasn't really popularized in business probably until the 80s. And there's lots and lots of books on it. But it's a known fact, that many things in business follow the principle that the principle really stated is that only 20%, only 80% of the effects are only caused by 20% of the causes. right? So it's not,
Right.
it's half and half. There's disparity, right? On a basketball team or SAT scores, for example, 20% of the students produce 80% better than the rest of the class. There's also a very important concept to it, though. 4% of the students perform better than 67% of the class. So it's actually fractal. So you can go 20% of the 20%, right? So in business, I think I mentioned earlier, 20% of the 20%, 80% of the revenue is generated by 20% of the customers. 67, sometimes more, 70%, sometimes more is produced by only 4% of the customers. So, you know, it applies to pretty much everything I touch. I found that, you know, I used to get really overwhelmed by lists because I wanted to do everything on it. And so I tried to delegate. That was my solution. I want to delegate as much as I can. And then I realized there's another option. Don't do it. Right?
Yep.
I used to and do the things that you do, most of them don't need to be perfect. They just need to be okay. I used to wonder, like, because I work with a lot of business leaders as part of what I do. I listen to them talk. I find out what it is that's in their heart to create, and I help them flesh it out, help them write it down, help them create a strategy, help them build it. That's what I do. And I used to wonder all the time when I was younger, why do they do so many things so badly? Why? Like, they could do this so much better. And I, for the longest time, I could never understand that. And then I learned that the reason they're successful at what they do is because they do most of the things that they do poorly. And they don't try to do them extremely well. They only focus on the top things, top 20% of things, if you will, that actually matter.
Mm.
When I was like 17, 18, I worked for, so my first jobs, my first gigs, I worked for a independent sales, what do they call it? Independent sales consultant for Mary Kay. Believe it or not, I was her assistant. And
That's
she was,
funny. Got you wearing pink.
yeah, she was amazing. Yeah. But I was the only guy in this business. Right? She had all of her, she had her parties that she had like 20, 30 gals over. They would say, okay, ladies, and Daniel. It was like that. And so my job was their marketing. I actually helped her do her emails, and I helped her with her website and different things. And I got so excited about the story, I forgot where I was going with it. Oh, she would write emails to people with like one line or 2 words even. And I'd be like, wait, we got to be more specific. And she's like, no time. There's no time. And she'd be just like, no time. I'm like, okay, yes, ma'am. And I press send. I never got it. Like it never really registered with me until later in life that she didn't have time for that. She understood that 20% of her, 80% of her results came from 20% of the effects, 20% of the causes. And so she would focus on the things that matter, which for her was relationship building. She would stop and talk to anyone, anywhere, checkout aisle, doesn't matter. She was always stopping to talk to people. She realized, or she knew, and I later realized that for her, the relationships was really her 20%. And but anyway, she's a leader in my past that I just question, like, why does she do something so poorly? And it's so important that you change your mindset to do 80% of your stuff that you have to do. First of all, don't do it if you don't have to do it. If it doesn't require a response, don't respond. If it doesn't require you do it, don't do it. But if you must, if it's not something that's earth-shattering for you, do it poorly. It's okay. Like I even struggle with that thought. Like I'm still trying to get that in my mind, but it's true. And 20% of the pages on your website are the ones that matter. The other 80% don't matter. Actually, it's more like 4% of the pages. It's the sales page and the order form that really matter. Opt-in page. Those are the ones you need to worry about. Don't worry about everything else. This one principle has just in the last few months has really changed my life. I'm much happier. I work less, and I'm more productive.
So that's a perfect segue. So how does that affect you? Like, how does that make you more productive? how does that change how you feel about life right now over the past few months? How have you even seen that start
Yeah.
to develop?
I have so much more mental space.
Hmm.
I have so much more time to think and process. So what I've learned to do is put my work in a box, set it aside, and then think about the box, right? I've learned to sharpen the saw, as Stephen Covey says. I've learned that, um, you know, even in my conversion rate optimization business, less than 20% of the things are actually important to do. And again, it goes back to visualizing it done. If you visualize it done and you say, oh, that's going to make a huge difference. And that doesn't mean it's less effort on those other, that 20%. It's not, it's more effort. You're going to put a ton more effort into those things. One discipline that I've started doing is clearing Monday today from the time I get up until sometime around 1 o'clock. I only work on one thing. That's it. And that's my day. My day is a cup of coffee and working on one thing. That one thing is the one most important thing that, if completed, makes the most of my list irrelevant. And I'm telling you, it's changed. It's changed my life because I know Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I've already got the most important thing out of the way. I can almost say, I can't because I got so many things to do, but I can almost feel like I'm sailing the rest of the week because I've done that one thing, that maybe I was resisting or procrastinating about. It's a hard thing. It requires enormous effort, but it's done. And I feel so great about it. For me this week, it was a particular funnel that was struggling. And it was an enormous project, but I got it all done in one morning, one afternoon. I feel so good about it. And now I've got time to really think about other things.
So is there a way you can apply the 80-20 rule to your marketing in particular? Like, of course, 80% of the results are from 20% of your efforts in there.
Yeah.
So when it comes to marketing, have you tried to figure out which funnels or which ads to focus on and
Absolutely.
then kind of left the others in the dust? How have you done
It's
that
practically? It's pretty much a rule that if you launch, 50 ads, 10 of them are going to be not just a little bit better than the 50. They're going to be 2, 3, 4 times better than the 50. So I've learned that you have, for ads, for example, you need to launch many more. You need to try a lot of different things. And then you find that there's probably 1 or 2 out of 50 that are outstanding because the 80-20 principle is fractal, right? 20% of the causes produce 80% of the effects, but 4% of the causes produce 70% of the effects, roughly. So you just cut it down until you get that one thing. One ad, that's stellar ad, can triple a business, very quickly. So it's more about volume and then really focusing on what is that one big winner. Email marketing. I think it's 80%. Don't quote me on it because I'm not sure on the exact, but there's like 70-80% of the most impactful content is that headline, right? I know this in ads. I can tell you the headline in ads, tweaking 2 words in an ad can double its conversion rate in the headline. So that in an email, that first sentence, if you get that right, the rest of the email people will read. But if you don't get it right, they're not going to read it. Right? In a letter, you send a letter, headline in your letter, people scroll down or move the pages, right? It's even hard to say. And they read the PS line. Right? Yep. This is the most important elements in a letter. It's all over the place. 80-20 is everywhere. If you start thinking about it, you realize it's everywhere.
And so in your marketing, you start seeing it through the lens of the 80-20 rule and say, okay, why isn't this working? It's probably, I got to find those couple things, just change those couple things, forget the rest. And then you change them and it speeds up your marketing process too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's usually if you have a problem in a conversion, First thing you look for is to find out if something's broken. Today I had a funnel that was struggling and I found out one of the links was broken.
You can't forget that part.
Yeah, you have to have that in place. But beyond that, there's only a few things that really move the lever. You just have to find out what those things are for you and focus on them. The benefit of letting other things go is not that you have less time, although you do. It's that you have more focus on what matters. I'm telling you, it's critical. It's not just a fun saying. It's like one of the top 5 central principles of being successful. It's way up there. It might be number 1 or 2. It's huge. Focus on what's important. So it's like, there's many stories. There's stories everywhere. Like Steve Jobs, for example, when Apple was failing, I think it was 1991, 92, something like that. And he came back. They had him come back because they were failing. They were like 3 weeks from insolvency or something. And they had like 120 products. And he came in and cut all of them out except for like 4 or something. You can read about his story. There's a couple of movies about it. I don't think the movies go into detail about what he actually did, though. There's biographies and stuff. There's stories about this. You can read them. He really understood that you have to focus on things that really matter. And not just the products, but the features within the products that actually matter. That was another thing that he was amazing at. Like when he introduced the iPhone versus the BlackBerry. BlackBerry had all these. I don't know if you remember the BlackBerry. I remember the BlackBerry. We called it Crackberry back then. It had all these features that nobody knew how to use, right? So Jobs said, let's just cut everything out. Let's go as simple as possible. And let's take the 20% that matter, email, text, calling, web browsing. Let's make that amazing. He only got like 4% or something. I can't remember exactly, 5% of market share. But the ones he did get were paying 4 and 5 and 6 times more for the phone. If you remember when it came out, it was like crazy. It was like $600, $700 or something. I don't remember, but it was way more than the other guys. So his profit margins were huge. What did he do? He reinvested it. Apple's top 3 company, top 5, definitely in top 5 in the whole world. It's 80-20. He was viciously followed 80-20 in everything he did.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you were talking, I think it was before we started recording. You were saying how the 80-20 principle didn't just come to business. And then I'll ask you if you want to say anything else. And then
well, it's a story you can look up. I mean, Pareto was the guy. I don't remember the specifics of his context for it, but it was in economics. And the principle itself is observed in nature. In other words, it's a natural law. It's the way things are. Athletes in every field, 20% of the athletes outperform the other 80%. And it's not a little bit, it's a lot. It's actually called a power curve. So if you know what a power curve is, if you take any number and rise it to a power, it looks like this.
Sure. Exponentially, yeah.
Yeah. The 1% are not just a little bit. The top 1% are not just a little bit. Oh, you know what it was? It comes to my mind. It was wealth distribution. That's what he was studying.
And that makes sense. Yeah. I was about to say Jeff Bezos, everyone's complaining about him, but it's 80-20 rule.
Yeah, it's wealth distribution. Pareto found that no matter where you look, geographically or throughout time, as more wealth is created, 20% always throughout history have had 80% of the wealth. Throughout all of time and throughout regions, countries, democracies, everywhere. And he said it's a principle. And so it's, and it's that 4% have this 67% on average. And then there's the 1% who have, I don't know what it is. They have the numbers, 75% or whatever it is. I think it's 75%. So if you understand, the thing is, in marketing, people like to talk about the latest technique. Techniques will burn you. Techniques work for a time, and then when they don't work, they don't work. It's like, backlinking back when Google was old school. you could get out there and you could get your links out there on different sites and you could rank easily on Google. It's a technique, right? Then Google changed the algorithm. All of a sudden that technique didn't work anymore. People lost $1 million businesses because they built their business on a technique instead of a principle. The 80-20 principle has always been around. It always will be around. It'll be around 100 years from now. So if you can learn these principles and apply them, you can build a business that'll stand the test of time. So,
awesome.
so yeah, 80-20 is one of those things. You're going to see it everywhere. I think the biggest thing is probably focusing, for me, is focusing on the customers that matter. Some customers do not matter. Okay. People like to say that every customer matters. They don't. So, baseball, for example, the average person, I don't know what the dollar is, but the average person spends, maybe $20 on a ticket, get some hot dogs and stuff. The top 1% that enjoy baseball spend not just twice as much money, they spend thousands of times more money. They get they get the special seating, they get the VIP treatment and all that. That's actually where most of the money is made in sports, is from the small group of people. Starbucks does not focus on its average customer. They focus on their customers that spend the most, right? This principles that play everywhere. They sell, Starbucks sells espresso machines to people who are fanatics about coffee. They're like $10,000. You can get them on their website. Businesses that have this figured out are successful. They realize that they got to focus their products on their fans, on their fanatics. The other 80% are great. Some of them are actually, the ones on the tail end are actually cost you money. So those are the ones you want to get rid of. You don't want to focus on them. They complain the most. They give you the least amount of profit, and they're the least loyal. So you don't want to focus on them. For me, that's been the biggest way to apply it in sales and marketing specifically, but it's everywhere.
Sure. And if you focus on that 20%, or, as you said, it's fractal on that 4%,
right?
Then you're ending up you're not only getting more money, you're also specializing in serving those people better, and then forgetting about the others that you aren't going to serve quite as well, right? Because you can't serve one and the other. You have to focus on one and say, hey, I'm not ready to serve you. I'm not in that place.
Business focuses way too much on averages. Average cost, average revenue per customer, average cart value, average blah, blah, blah. The average doesn't matter. The 20% best matter. Yep. So it's just the way it is. And if you can specifically, if you can customize your offers based on that 20%, it changes everything.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Thanks for sharing. Is there anything else you want to share on that topic or any other? Any recommendations for books, sources?
Yeah, definitely Perry Marshall. I recommend to everyone. 80-20 Sales and Marketing, Perry Marshall. Everyone should read that book. I got it on Amazon. There's Audible. I got the physical book because I really wanted to study this one. But yeah, I think, great, whatever industry you're in, whatever field you're in, study great books. There's a funny, there's a group called the Pre-Gutenberg, and they study books that were written prior to Gutenberg. Because when Gutenberg invented the printing press, books and information for that day became ubiquitous, right? You could get books anywhere about everything. But pre-Gutenberg, books that survived, like the burning of the Library of Alexandria, the books that survived throughout history were literally written down by scribes. They were worth the effort, right? So this, studying great books goes beyond just sales and marketing. There's great books for that, but there's also just great books in general that you should read. And, for me, it's been the biggest benefit to me has always been studying great books. So I recommend everyone, if you got to read to lead, Have to. If you're going up against someone who spends an hour a day, 2 hours a day reading, and you don't read at all, they're going to be 10 miles ahead of you in a week, right? You have to stay up on your reading. So that's what I recommend. It's where I learn most of my stuff. It's the great thing is when you know your focus, like for me, CRO, I just read about that all the time. It's fun. It's not like it's a chore. It's like I have to do this. It's just it's a pleasure. So
That's awesome.
that's what I tell everyone who asks.
That's a great note to stop the recording on. Thanks, Daniel.
No problem.
If you like that video, do one thing for me. Go into the comments on YouTube or go on Twitter and tell me who I should interview next, because I want to, not my wife. This has to do with marketing, TJ. But that might be cool sometime. Unrelated to marketing. Anyways, go do that. Bye.